Good morning, Sia. Can you hear me?
Morning, Ms. Pillay. I can hear you quite well.
Okay, shall I try and share that document?
Just give me a sec. 1 second. You may go ahead. I've given sharing rights, Ms. Pillay.
Okay.
And your audio is quite well as well.
Okay, good.
Yes, we can see that.
Got it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay.
You may remove it for
So
now.
I'll take it off the screen because you were starting with other items, right?
Yeah, you will only share when you're called upon.
Okay, so Sia, if we get to the A list, then THC will share that. So you'll have to give him sharing rights on that one.
Is he here?
Yes, he should be.
I don't see him. Can you speak up? He's not in yet.
Okay, let me check.
Just give me a heads up. Maybe you can send me a WhatsApp or what is his name on the system. Then I'll just grant him that. No problem.
It's THCC Belamicha.
Yes, but I don't see him now.
Okay, I'm checking on him now. I'll call you back.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Good morning to everybody.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, Chair.
Morning.
Morning, Chair.
How are you, dear?
Good,
Thank you. Can we start with the BRRR reports before we move to the NPA amendment bill? Committee Secretary, can you flag the first report? The budgetary review and recommendation report of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, the National Prosecuting Authority, Information Regulator, Legal Aid South Africa, Special Investigating Unit, South African Human Rights Commission, and the Public Protector, dated 17 November 2023. Are there any corrections on page 1? The report is taken as read. It was circulated, is taken as read. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Page 24. Page 25. Page 26. Page 27. Page 28. Page 29. Page 30. Page 31. Page 32. Page 33. Page 34. Page 35. Page 36. Page 37. Page 38. Page 39. Page 40. Page 41. Page 42. Page 43. Page 44. Page 45. Page 46. Page 47. Page 48. Page 49. Page 50. Page 51. Page 52. Page 53. Page 54. Page 55. Page 56. Page 57. Page 58. Page 59. Page 60. Page 61. Page 62. Page 63. Page 64. Page 65. Page 66. Page 67. Page 68. Page 69. Page 70. Page 71. Page 72. Page 73. Page 74. Page 75. Page 76. Page 77. Page 78. Page 79. Page 80. Page 81. Page 82. Page 83. Page 84. Page 85. Page 86. Page 87. Page 88. Page 89. Page 90. Page 91. Page 92. Page 93. Page 94. Is there a mover for the adoption of the report?
Honorable Neo Dugan moves for the adoption of the report, Chair.
Honorable Neo Dugan moves for the adoption of the report. Any seconder?
Honorable
Chair.
Ramulobeng seconds, Chair.
Honorable Ramulibon seconds. Any objections?
Chairperson, I would not support for now. I would want to indicate that the only document I have on my system is the original draft, which was sent when I joined the committee. So for now, I will reserve my right not to support the document until such time I have the complete documentation.
The EFF reserve its position. So there is no objections, but
Sorry, Chair. Our
My
hands are
hand
up.
is up, Chair.
okay, Honorable Swart, Honorable Breitenbach.
No, Chair, will you just reserve the ACDP's position as well? But I do want to commend the staff for the excellent work done with this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Breitenbach.
Thank you, Chair. We reserve our position, and likewise, an outstanding report. A lot of work has gone into it, and we're grateful for the effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also, on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank the research unit for this excellent work under difficult circumstances. We know that they are dealing with a lot of reports, with a lot of bills, with impeachment processes. No one would want to be a researcher for justice at this particular time, but notwithstanding all of that pressure, but they were able to produce such a good report. Thank you very much to the research unit and the secretariat. The report is agreed to. Can we go to the next report? The budgetary review and recommendation report of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on the Office of the Chief Justice, dated 17th November 2023. The report was circulated and it's taken as read. Are there any corrections on page 1? We do note Honorable Mkhwebane's request. Can the Secretariat forward the necessary documentation to Advocate Mkhwebane? Page 1, page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Is there a mover for the adoption of the report?
Honorable Neodruchen moves for the adoption of the report, Chair.
Honorable Neodruchen moves for the adoption of the report. Any seconder?
Maseko Jele, second, Chair. The
Honorable
adoption of the report.
Honorable Maseko Jele seconds. Any objections?
Again, Steve, ACDP, thanks.
ACDP, are you objecting or are you reserving your position?
Reserving our position, thank you.
Thank you very much. ACDP reserves its position.
So does the DA, Chair. Our hands were up. Are you not seeing them?
I'm not seeing them.
Okay, fine.
I suspect it's Honorable Horn who's sabotaging me.
No, I think
the plan is working.
I think it's Honorable Ngolo under his tree. He's pretending to be sick, but he's lying under the tree sabotaging things.
So the DA reserves its position. The report is agreed to. Thank you very much once again to the research unit and the secretariat for the good work. Thank you very much. Can we now move to the next item? That is the NPA amendment bill. The DA had asked for some time to consider the bill, and they asked to make a presentation that was circulated, I think, yesterday to all members. Can I now invite the Democratic Alliance to make a presentation, followed by the response from the department, and then engagement by members.
Chair, Honorable Maseko Jele's hand is up.
Honorable Jele.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Comrade Reichenbach. Chair, let me just firstly in fact, let me just thank Honorable Breitenbach, Chairperson, twice. He has been helping me when I'm in trouble. First time where it was when my email was hacked. And then yesterday also when I was requested to chair the plenary, not having the list of the speakers, immediately he jumped into assisting me. I want to forward, yes, Chair, my appreciation, because it's all because of the teamwork of this committee, that we look after each other. And thank you very much, Honorable Breitenbach, very much appreciated. Chair, the second issue, it is about there's an email that was this morning I saw sent by Honorable Mkhwebane. It's like a presentation. Can we, Chairperson, if maybe you saw it, can you talk to that one? Because it seems as if it talks to the today's matter. So I took it as a submission unless explained otherwise. And that email, it should have been maybe went to all of us, if I'm not mistaken. I'm subject for correction, Chair. And it also takes me to that issue of maybe Honorable Mkhwebane saying she did not receive the documents. That email, it is sent to all of us. And maybe we can also look into that issue as to how come he did not get the document. I don't want to make it an issue, but I just want to pass because I wanted to find out only on this one, Chair. Are we going to entertain that one if you saw it? Just a clarity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. No, we saw it. I took it as Honorable Mkhwebane advancing the position of the EFF, which when we deliberate, she will have an opportunity to advance her position. She was gracious enough to give us the position beforehand, but she will still advance those points that she has made when we are deliberating.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can we start with the request that was made by the DA, Honorable Breitenbach?
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to everybody. Chair, the submissions are made on, of course, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, but also on behalf of the ACDP. They collaborated with us on these suggestions and they support them, and so it's a team effort. Honorable Msekajeli, it's a great pleasure, and you did very well yesterday. Chair, from the outset, I want to make it very, very clear that the Democratic Alliance, and I'm assuming the ACDP as well, do not regard this amendment bill that we're dealing with now as adequately addressing the shortcomings hampering the performance at the National Prosecuting Authority. And more particularly, we don't believe that it remotely adequately addresses the proposed permanence of the investigating directorate. We're making these suggestions, Chair, in an attempt to strengthen this bill, in an attempt to strengthen the position of the investigating directorate, in as much as it's able to be done in such a flawed piece of legislation, under such pressure, with no time to draft a proper piece of legislation. And we're honestly doing it, Chair. You know what my position has been all along, that this is not a good bill and that we will not support it. Having given very serious consideration to the inputs of the National Prosecuting Authority in particular, to the difficulties that they're experiencing, and in an honest attempt to try and address some of those issues, which are not dealt with adequately in the bill at all. And even with our suggestions, even if they're all accepted, will still not make the bill a good piece of legislation. It remains, as the Deputy Minister described it, a stopgap piece of legislation, which we should not be occupying our time with. It's a sticking plaster over a gaping wound. And so it's in that spirit that we make these suggestions. So having considered the position of the National Prosecuting Authority, having considered the submissions made by the National Director, by Advocate Johnson, by Advocate du Plessis, and having considered what would be best going forward for South Africa, we make these suggestions in an attempt to make this a bill that can sort of work, because it can never be better than that. So in an attempt to strengthen, and everybody's got this, and I don't propose to read it word for word, I'm sure everyone's read it, and if anyone has issues, they can raise them with me. In an attempt to strengthen the provisions of the bill, Chair, we suggest that a clause or clauses be inserted that more adequately address the security of tenure of the investigating directorate, as well as the appointment process. It's in our view, the appointment process should be open and transparent, should allow for nominations and applications, and it should include a public interview process by a panel, which includes representatives from a variety of stakeholders in the criminal justice system. It should not solely be in the purview of the National Director. The position is important. It's way too important to be dealt with in the fashion that it's currently dealt with. We hold the view that the term of office should be a one-term, non-renewable, not less than 10 years. And we also, Chair, hold the view that the retirement age needs to be increased to 70 in line with the judge. The kind of person that you're wanting to attract to this position going forward is not somebody who's 20 years old. They will need a lot of experience, a lot of exposure over a wide range of the spectrum of the criminal justice system. They will have to be confident, competent, experienced litigators, and also competent, confident, and experienced managers. All of those skills bound up in one person is very, very hard to find. And once you've found it, Chair, it's not going to be in somebody who's very young. And so if you appoint somebody who's, and the retirement age is 65, you appoint somebody who's, let's say, 56 or 57, they don't even have 10 years to put a stamp on the direction of the organization. They need people, you need a long time period to settle it, to give it direction, and to make it work. So in our view, the age should be increased to that of a judge, and give people more time to settle into that job and to put their own personal stamp on the direction that it should go, and then give them time to implement. Because there's no good spending 5 years planning and then you find that you have to leave because you've reached the age of 65 and you've had no opportunity for implementation. That is not going to work. It's not going to be in the best interests of the investigating directorate, and it's not going to take the matter where it should be. Furthermore, Chair, the kind of person that you want to attract to that position is not necessarily going to be at the level of a director of public prosecutions. And so in our view, that level should be increased to the level of a deputy national director, so that that person would have the requisite seniority, the requisite clout within the organization, and you'd have a much better chance of attracting the range of skills that will be required. And then, Chair, we also suggest that the appointment process should not be limited to current directors of public prosecution. There are many people in South Africa who have the skills that are required for this job. Many, and they're not all housed within the NPA. In fact, very few of them are. But there are people in South Africa who have the requisite skills. And you can think across an entire spectrum of the justice system in South Africa, and even beyond that. So to have only directors of public prosecution in the pool of possible appointees is very, very limiting. And you could find yourself, and this is no reflection, let me say it up front, on either of the people who have held the position, and certainly not on Advocate Johnson, but you'll find yourself with a very limited pool. And so the National Director will have to pick someone out of a pool of 10, 15 people. And so she's going to take the best that she's got, which doesn't mean that that's the best that there is. And for this type of position, for this kind of job that we're asking them to do, for the kind of pressure they're going to have to withstand from a variety of sources, you don't want to settle for the best that you've got. You want to appoint the best that you possibly can. And so you need to cast this net a lot wider than just a pool of current directors of public prosecutions. Then, Chair, we all know what the story of the Scorpions was, and that as soon as it became inconvenient to have them, they were disbanded in a blaze of glory. And purely, if we're all honest with each other, for purely political reasons. And this investigating director is going to be vulnerable to those same problems. The permanency that is spoken about here is not permanency, and if everybody on the platform is honest, they will acknowledge that. There can be no permanency while this investigating directorate is housed within the National Prosecuting Authority. The Deputy Minister takes umbrage to my suggestion that it can be abolished with a stroke of a pen. Well, not necessarily the stroke of a pen, but certainly just by a simple majority in Parliament. And we've seen that happen. And there's no guarantee that it won't happen again. And it will always be difficult to attract people with the kind of skills and dedication and application that you require if you cannot offer them a better security of tenure than that. All of the kind of people that you're going to want to attract, remember what happened to the Scorpions. Once bitten, twice shy, it's not going to go away. So we need to find a way of improving the security of tenure of the investigating directorate staff and the investigating directorate itself. And we propose that there's an amendment then to the Principal Act that the investigating directorate, as part of the legislative framework of the NPA, be included in the preamble to the amendment of the bill. It must be made clear that the amendment is not based on a policy choice, but in order to properly and rationally respond and give effect to the findings and recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture and Corruption. So we are asking that that be included. Then, Chair, it would be pointless to make all of these proposed amendments if they're agreed to, or even for discussion purposes, if we don't discuss the appointment and the tenure of the National Director and the Deputy National Directors. Currently, the retirement age of the National Director is 65, and we propose that it should be extended with retrospective effect to the age of 70, for the same reasons as we suggest that the investigating director be given sufficient time to put their stamp on the organization and implement it. We believe that the national director, who is a person that requires the same range of skills, the same range of experience, who has to withstand the same kinds of pressures, needs time, A, to implement, and then to plan and strategize, and then needs sufficient time to implement. And we don't believe that the age of 65 necessarily meets that requirement. If you find a boy wonder or a girl wonder of 30, then of course it's fine. But those are few and far between, and we're not going to find one every time we look. So the kind of people you're going to be appointing are going to be people who've got a lot of experience, and that's in years. And we believe that the age of 70 is a much more appropriate retirement age. So we would like to see that amendment made with retrospective effect. The appointment process of the National Director must be attended to. It needs to be transparent and open. needs to allow for nominations and applications, include public interviews similar to what took place with the current national director, and then includes representatives from a variety of stakeholders aimed at recommending a candidate to the president. We hold the view that appointment of the deputy national director should follow a similar pattern. Again, you want the best that you can get, not the best of the bunch that you already have. Deputy national directors are not necessarily all called upon to have prosecutorial skills. They're not necessarily litigators. There are a wide variety of skills that can be employed very effectively within the range of deputy national directors that are not necessarily currently housed within the National Prosecuting Authority. And we need to make it the best that it can be. And so we need to widen that pool. Then, to strengthen the independence overall of the National Prosecuting Authority, Chair, because clearly it does not enjoy the kind of independence that a truly independent National Prosecuting Authority should have. We propose that a clause be inserted removing the National Prosecuting Authority from the financial control of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and allowing the NPA to negotiate its own budget with Treasury and report to Treasury and Parliament. No true independence is achievable under the current setup. In terms of the confines of the applicable regulatory framework, we are of the view that the National Prosecuting Authority should be transformed into a separate national government department. There's a discussion in our document, Chair, revolving around the establishment of Stats SA and the Civilian Secretariat for the South African Police. They are analogous situations, and we believe that those analogies can be fruitfully applied to the situation of the National Prosecuting Authority. To duplicate this arrangement in respect to the NPA will strengthen its independence. It will maintain the constitutional role of the Minister of Justice in respect of the NPA, and it's accepted that this will require an amendment to the relevant schedule to the Public Finance Management Act, but it will not require a constitutional amendment. If the constitutional architecture is considered contextually, Chair, it must be clear that it cannot be justified to afford the Civilian Secretariat for Police the status of a separate government department, but deny that status to the National Prosecuting Authority. The National Prosecuting Authority is one of the most important structures in our constitutional democracy, and currently it struggles to function under the yoke of the Department of Justice. And so, Chair, those are our submissions. I thank you for the indulgence of giving us the time to prepare them, for the time to present them, and I'm happy to have discussions on them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Swart, since you are part of the drafting of the presentation, your hand is also up. Do you want to say something?
No, Chair, I just wanted to confirm that we do align ourselves with the DA's submission, and I would just urge the committee to take them into consideration, given the fact, particularly of Advocate Breitenbach's extensive experience, and I think it goes a long way to improve the bill, and I just urge the committee to seriously consider it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Advocate Mkhwebane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm struggling with my network, and I didn't follow on the presentation of the OCJ, and I still maintain that
Maybe you should close your video.
Request that I receive the updated document for right to. No, it's fine. I'm using the phone now. I was using the other gadget, actually the computer. So I'm reserving the right to object for now to that report until such time I receive it and go through. And then on the issue of the amendment of the NPA legislation, I've sent my
inputs this morning, Chairperson, and apology again for the delay to send those inputs. But then the inputs, Chairperson, are taking everyone back to the arrangement which is currently happening in the country. I think the background we all know of the Special Operations Office, or how the Scorpions was disbanded. And I think there's a Kampempe report, and I also mentioned the Glenister legislation. Chairperson, I am reminding the committee and the South Africa at large about the responsibility and the mandate of the South African police in terms of Section 205 of the Constitution, which is there to prevent, combat, and investigate crime, maintain public order, protect and secure the inhabitants of the Republic of South Africa. So the Constitution emphasizes the importance of the police service to act with integrity and everything, as we know. But then the critical issue is that they investigate crime. Secondly, the issue of the National Prosecuting Authority is tasked with the mandate to institute criminal proceedings on behalf of the state, to carry out that function incidental to criminal proceedings. And the NPA is also responsible for prosecuting criminal cases in the country, ensuring that justice is served, and any other crime, including organized crime, and that. So the challenge is that the jurisdictional issues of the NPA is that the investigation and prosecution of corruption cases falls within the mandate of the police. Actually, the investigation part falls within the mandate of the police. Therefore, the legal challenges of then putting the investigative role within the NPA. There's the challenge of the legal challenge might be raised by the accused. In the sense that there might be conflict of interest, because, Chairperson, those who have practiced as prosecutors, or who have experienced as prosecutors, if you are guiding the investigator, definitely when the case is opened, the docket is brought to the prosecutor to decide. The prosecutor will guide the investigating officer how to deal with the matter. But now you'll find a situation where, if a docket is now opened, the investigation from the beginning until the prosecution is dealt with by the prosecution authority. That might also raise various serious challenges. So the challenge is that we do have the Directorate for priority crime investigations within SAPS, and that investigate exactly what we are talking about, organized crime. And I think we shouldn't be led by a situation where we just legislate for the sake of legislating, because of whatever, when one institution is not performing, or after the issuance of this report, picking up gaps or failure to perform by the current institutions, and then want to legislate based on that. So there would be a potential conflict of interest. There would be a potential usurping of the constitutional right of the police, or the constitutional mandate of the police to investigate crime. So, Chairperson, I think this bill differs in South Africa, differs from other countries, especially where you'd find that in some countries, such as the US, specialized units like the Federal Bureau of Investigation are separate from the prosecutorial authority. I mean, Same applies like the current status quo in South Africa. However, these units work closely with prosecutors to build cases and bring them to trial. And in other countries like the UK, there's a Crown Prosecution Service, works independently from specialized investigative agencies, and they make prosecutorial decisions based on evidence provided by investigative agencies. The same applies like what is happening in South Africa. So overall, the decision to place the investigation directorate within the NPA and we then legislate on it, I think Chairperson might raise those challenges of having no checks and balances and not making sure that we focus on the efficiency of the current DPCI and make sure that they work directly with the NPA, the very same directorate within the NPA, and they then can make sure that whatever they investigate is investigated expeditiously and it's brought to trial. So I think the submission from the EFF, especially forward-looking, because again, if you have an institution like the NPA as it stands, even if you can create a department and whatever, you still subject them to political interference because they are still accounting to the political head. So if you have a constitutional institution which will be, accountable to Parliament, and you guarantee their independence to fight against corruption and crime in general, so I think that will be the best instead of piecemeal amendment of this legislation. Therefore, Honorable Chairperson, as the EFF, we object to the amendment of, or the amendment as it stands currently, and we don't support this bill.
Thank you. And we have the response. I think the department did see the presentation from the DA. Can we have a response to the presentation?
If I can start, and just to say this bill was introduced in early September. I think it was about the 5th or 4th. So it's good to finally get the DA's submissions and the ACDP's submissions on the bill. With regard to Ms. Mkhwebane, I know she joined the committee late, but a lot of the issues that she is raising have been discussed and dealt with before. I don't know if she had the opportunity to read the department's response to the public submissions. But let me just go back to the intention of the bill is to, the investigating directorate exists in terms of the NPA Act, whereby the president can appoint an investigating directorate by proclamation. And he did that in Proclamation 20 of 2018. This bill is to address two urgent issues, which the president in his report to Parliament had said would be done. The one was to make the investigating directorate a statutory body, so it can't be abolished by the stroke of a presidential pen. The other was to deal with the issue of allowing the investigating directorate to employ its own investigators. Currently, they have investigators, but those investigators are seconded. So the issue was there are sort of bureaucratic problems with that to enable them to have their own investigators. But it's not a new body that's being set up. You'll see in the transitional provisions that the current investigating directorate on corruption is going to be become, or in the transitional arrangements, become the investigating directorate under this act. So those were the two main urgent intentions of the bill. On the issue of let me say that in order to allow the bill to be processed quickly, we wanted to reduce the number of issues that were in contention. There was a provision in an earlier draft of the bill to require the president to set up a panel regarding the appointment of the National Director of Public Prosecutions with stakeholders, basically legislating what he had already done with the appointment of the current NDPP. However, that was taken out of the bill with the view that that should come later. There are questions of can it be amended? Can that be done in a bill? Currently, the Constitution in Section 179(1)(a) gives the president unfettered powers to appoint the national director. Can ordinary legislation fetter those powers? Should it not be a constitutional amendment that is rather put in? So those were some of the questions. So the idea was to limit the bill to these two issues and not to deal with other issues at this stage. Those can be dealt with later, but to deal with them now will delay the bill. As the honourable members would know, any new items that were not in the original bill would have to be re-advertised for public comment. The pressure and the request from the NPA is to pass this legislation now so they can beef up the investigating directorate and make it statutory and employ their own investigators. So that's why we've limited it to that. Yes, there are other questions relating, to the appointment. Some of the issues that Honourable Breitenbach has raised have validity, but the issue is it's not the time now to do it. There's also the question of the removal of the national director. Currently, it is by a simple majority in the National Assembly. Is that a good thing, or should we not make it more difficult to remove the national director? Those are questions we need to look at and consider. The issue of the operational independence of the National Prosecuting Authority is something that is being considered by the department. Issues relating to the NPA's operational effectiveness and financial independence. These are not new issues. They've been issues that have been raised over the last 20 years by the Auditor General, various parliamentary committees, and the NPA itself. But there is a commitment from the Minister to ensure that these issues on operational effectiveness and financial independence are addressed on an urgent basis. But again, it's something that we want to separate from the bill. On the issue of Honourable Breitenbach's allegations that the disbandment of the Scorpions was pure political expediency, I would like to remind her that there were serious problems over the operational efficiency of the Scorpions. Having both police people and prosecutors, police who are accounting to the Commissioner of Police and prosecutors who are accounting to the NDPP in the same body. This amendment is not repeating that. On the issue of it being a stopgap, the issue is that this is the first step in addressing more immediate issues in with the problems of or to beef up the investigating directorate, and more can come later. So I wanted to give that, Chair, by way of background. DDG Pillay can give then a response in more detail to the press submissions made. But the question is basically that we want to limit this bill to the issues of making the investigating directorate statutory and of giving them the power to appoint their own investigators on an urgent basis or as an urgent matter. Issues relating to the tenure of the NDPP, the age of retirement are things that need to be considered, but cannot be considered in this bill if we expect to pass this bill before the elections. So let me then hand over to DDG Pillay for her response to the submissions. We got the response, I think it was on Wednesday evening. So thank you for that, Honourable Breitenbach, for also submitting it, not just to the committee, but to myself to then forward to the department. The submission from Ms. Mkhwebane was only received at 8 o'clock this morning. She didn't actually send it to me or anyone to the department. You forwarded it to me, Chair, and thank you for that. But can I hand over to DDG Pillay?
Just before we DDG Pillay, if the committee would be inclined with your proposal to focus on the bill, are there any timelines that you have for a complete review of the NPA to cater for the issues that have been raised, like the tenure and all of those things?
There's a number of issues, Chair, that have been raised. There's the operational and the financial independence issue and its relationship with the Department of Justice. That the Minister's giving an undertaking to get resolved before the end of the term. On the broader questions relating to the tenure, the appointment processes, the removal processes, those kinds of things, those are probably issues that would have to be, while the department will be working on them, but would have to be probably legislation introduced in the new parliament. That would include then other measures to strengthen the fight against corruption that may be proposed by the National Council on Anti-Corruption that is expecting to bring out its report in early next year.
Thank you, Tia. DDG?
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson and members. I'm going to share my screen quickly. Thank you, Chair. My screen should be visible now. Sia?
Your screen is visible.
Okay, thank you, DM. On clause 1 of the bill, there's a proposal that the preamble be amended and to protect the investigating directorate against possibility of being abolished for political reasons. And the suggestion is that it must be made clear that the amendment is not based on a policy choice, but in order to properly and rationally respond to the findings of the State Capture Commission. The department's response to that suggestion is that the mandate of the proposed IDAC is broader than the outcomes, than implementing the outcomes of the State Capture Commission. And we express a concern that specifying the need for the IDAC as arising from the State Capture Commission may limit the existence of the IDAC once prosecution of state capture related matters are completed. Or from an interpretation point of view, it may raise issues on the mandate of the IDAC, which is much broader than the State Capture Commission. On clause 6, there's a proposal for the amendment on the appointment and removal of the director. And that is in section 6B. And a proposal has been made to amend this to broaden there's an interpretation that we are only limited to choosing people from within the NPA who are already on the director or special director position. We have clarified that in the previous submissions, Chairperson, when we responded to the other comments. However, it's an issue that is raised again, and the department is proposing now that we suggest an amendment along the lines to give the clarity that is being sought, that we amend the section. And in this regard, Chairperson, we are proposing two alternatives. One, on the appointment of the director of the IDAC, it shall, in respect of any investigating directorate established in terms of Section 7. And the first option, appoint a person with the appropriate skills and expertise as a director of public prosecutions. And the second option, the second option is what we prefer because it is in line with the current legislation, to appoint a fit and proper person with due regard to his or her experience, conscientiousness, and integrity to be entrusted with the responsibilities of the office concerned as a director of public prosecutions, as the head of such investigating directorate. Those are the two proposals that we will suggest on the working document, Chairperson. And
Chair, can I just quickly come in? The amendment to 6B is not a substantial. The amendment to 6B in the introduced bill is not a substantial amendment. It's simply referring to, I think, the renumbering or the creation of new clauses. We have, as we've said in our previous submissions, felt that those provisions do not restricted the NDPP from appointing outsiders, whether as DPPs in the case of Advocate Hermione Cronje, or whether as Deputy National Directors. So the head of the Asset Forfeiture Unit, Advocate Rabaji Rasetaba, came from the outside. However, as Honourable Breitenbach is raising it again, we are then proposing this amendment in an effort to make her happy. Thank you, Chair.
We will specifically come back to the two proposals after the presentation. Can you proceed, DDJ?
Thank you, Chairperson. On the second point that is raised on this clause, that the level should be equal to a Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions to ensure the best possible candidates are considered. Here, Chairperson, we, as a Deputy Minister, has already indicated, increasing the level of the head of the HIDAC to a Deputy NDPP requires further consideration as it impacts on the structure of the NPA, the appointment and removal provisions, which are provisions to be considered under the broader review of the NBA Act. And Chairperson, the Act currently limits the number of Deputy NDPPs to be appointed, and we understand organizationally that each Deputy NDPP plays a specific role within the broader organization, and it's something that we would want to consider more fully.
Chair, can I just add on that? We had sent the DA's submissions to the NDPP, and the response specifically on that point, she writes, re the rank of the investigating director. There are many implications, including legal, and requires careful consideration. This is not a matter that can be decided in a day. So I just wanted to give her input, which is in support of what Ms. Pillay is saying.
And Chairperson, if I may move on to the general comments, the first point is with regard to extending the age of retirement to 70, the same as that of a judge. So in this regard, we also point out that this is part of a broader review of the NPA Act. And we want to point out that what is not stated in the document, but as we commonly know, CEOs and directors general serve until the age of 65, as it is a position that you are expected to lead a massive organization, and we want to consider all the implications of that. before we agree to amending it to that provision that is proposed. The Deputy Minister has spoken at length about the appointment process, and I wish to reiterate that we believe that that is a provision that must be considered under the broader review. Same with regard to removing the NPA from the financial control of the NPA from the Department of Justice. We have taken note of those comments as we did previously, and it falls within the review of the broader legislation. Chairperson, I've come to the end of this document. I haven't prepared anything in respect of the response to Honorable Mkhwebani's comments, but Chairperson, if I may refer to the previous submission that was made to the comments, we spoke extensively about the mandate of the South African police. We also spoke to the areas of collaboration between the SAPS and the NPA and what currently defines their working relationship. But most specifically, Chairperson, in the previous submission, we also pointed out that matters are not going to be handed over to the IDAC. The SAPS retains its mandate in respect of investigations on all matters, but the NPA, the IDAC, which will be a prosecutor-guided investigation process, as that specific mandate insofar as high-level corruption is concerned, as is set out in the bill. So it doesn't impede on the powers of SAPS in any way. Those were our submissions in the previous response. Thank you, Chairperson. If there's any questions for clarity, I will take those questions.
Advocate Breitenbach, just one question from my side before Honorable Horn. Like you are arguing that generally the recruitment must look beyond people in the NPA, of which I think there is no disagreement between yourselves and what the department is proposing. I think they are agreeing to that. But generally, people who would want to, it's not a matter of fact, but generally people who would want to come at their peak, they say around 50, 55, they will be also concerned about the pension benefits. Don't you think that we would need also an application of mind as to if we want people to work until 70, let's say this senior counsel is recruited and is 59 or is 57, to work until 70. One of the main things that would attract him or her is how lucrative is the pension benefits. We know that the pension benefits for judges are quite attractive. So don't you think that as part of the broader review, we will have to relook at the pension benefits of both your NDPP, the national director, the national directors, and possibly the provincial directors? And what will be the financial implications of doing so?
Thanks, Chair. Chair, in my experience, people who work at the National Prosecuting Authority don't do so for the money. If you want to get rich, and I've said it many times, the NPA is not the place for you. It's a public service. It's a hard job that's got massive requirements on your professional life, on your personal life. It requires people to work a lot of overtime for no thanks and no extra pay, and they all do it. So people who, in fact, want to work for the National Prosecuting Authority should not be there for the money, and if they are, they should not be there. And if somebody has reached the pinnacle of their career by 50, 55, and they're willing to accept a job at the National Prosecuting Authority, it must be because they want to serve this country and not because they want to line their pockets. And so I think that staff at the NPA are currently paid reasonably well for the job that they do. And I think their retirement benefits are pretty good. I think their medical aid benefits are pretty good. I think their working conditions, generally speaking, financially are very good. We can talk about other working conditions which are appalling. But I don't think that for the kind of person you want to attract, money is going to be the issue. I can, for instance, assure you that the money was not the motivating factor for the current national director. And we wouldn't want to attract people who are only there for the money. So I don't think the money is an issue, frankly. And besides, a deputy national director earns one hell of a lot of money. They can retire on what they earn. They don't need any more.
I've noted you, Honorable Horn. Any comments, Deputy Minister, and to the department?
No comments, Chair.
You're fine, okay. DDG, you're fine.
Yes, Chairperson, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Horn?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Let me maybe firstly say partly in jest that I was hoping that the Deputy Minister will at least counter you in saying that people by the age of 55 reach the pinnacle of their... to think that, but as I'm now approaching 55, I'm hoping the pinnacle will be closer to 60 or 65.
Honorable Horn, sorry, can I just say I did think about interjecting when the chair spoke to say that that comment was a bit offensive.
Yeah.
Chair, both Horn and the Deputy Minister must, keep aspiring.
Yeah. No, Chair, yeah, look, firstly, and I'm not in the mood for a fight this morning, but maybe, yeah, I think it remains our responsibility to say it is a concern that more or less everything that's identified as quite possibly or probably necessary to fix the justice system and the criminal justice system is parked now for this magical 7th Parliament. I really do not envy those who will be sent to this committee in the 7th Parliament. But maybe just to again reiterate that it is a massive concern that the ball seems to be kicked for touch by the department in respect of very serious issues that in respect of this specific bill, but also other legislation in the recent past, is all earmarked for this massive overhaul of all of the legislative framework. But as I say, it's not to pick a fight, it's just a comment that I think must be made. The input I wanted to give is to just ask the department in all seriousness to consider more seriously the proposal around the preamble, and I will try and unpack it a bit further. The first is that in interpreting legislation, firstly, our courts are relying more and more on the preamble. And the way I understand it in reading those judgments is specifically because very few pieces of legislation is now the product of what is ideally should be in place before we embark on the lawmaking process, and that's the white paper, green paper process, which in an ideal world will of course also provide a context for our courts in which to interpret legislation. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is that, of course, if one considers the rationale or let's say the process that results in the making of laws, a certain portion of laws is the product of the policy of the government of the day. And of course, in those cases, one would think that for a future legislature to amend or to abolish legislation should be easy enough if the policy of the government of the day has changed. But other legislation, and the Deputy Minister has again more or less admitted to it in his remarks in the opening when he referred to the President's response to the State Capture Commission. Other pieces of legislation ultimately is to address something that is a problem in society, and in our case specifically the systemic nature of corruption, as let's say laid bare amongst others through the work of the State Capture Commission. And in these circumstances where we are not at a point where we will be able to amend the Constitution at this stage to, for example, set up a corruption fighting institution in Chapter 9, and I understand that not everybody is necessarily in favor of it. I'm just using it as an example of how many of us feel will be best, which will be the best option to deal with the systemic nature of corruption in our country. The preamble of this bill will more or less be the only option for us as a legislature to say, but this is the way in which we as the legislature, at the request of the President, but also because we are under an obligation to give effect to respond to the recommendations of the State Capture Commission, this is how we do it. And in my view, that will open up an opportunity, and I'm going to say it very straightforward, that if a future parliament, through what Ms. Breitenbach has called the stroke of a pen, which is really just a political process, attempts to then abolish the investigating directorate as set up here today, or not today, through this process, attempt to abolish it again through just an amendment to the NPA Act again, there could be an argument made out that given that this is not necessarily a policy choice, that the requirement in our Constitution that in the performance of all public exercise of all public power and the performance of public functions, there has to be rationality involved in Parliament considering amending the law. And that would mean that unless it can be objectively proven that corruption has been dealt with, one will obviously never root out corruption in any country completely, but that the systemic nature of corruption in this country has been successfully addressed, one would then be able to argue, if one wants to attack such a process on the part of a future legislature, that such a decision will lack rationality. I'm fully aware in making the submission that up to this point, apart from maybe the way in which Parliament has dealt with, for example, through the ad hoc committee looking into the Nkandla matter, where the courts have felt that Parliament has failed to act rationally, this has never been the basis on which either the process to make a law, to abolish a law, has been attacked in our courts, but the day will arrive. So it's on those two grounds that I want to plead with the department to at least looking into strengthening or supplementing the preamble of this bill, if we don't want to necessarily refer to the State Capture Commission in the preamble. I think the time has arrived for us to say that the purpose of the bill is to also strengthen the fight against corruption identified as a systemic problem in this country. So those are I want to say the two reasons why I want to strongly suggest that for the department to to swipe that specific proposal off the table as easily as they seem to be prepared to be doing it this morning cannot serve the process. Thank you, Chair.
So, Honorable Breitenbach.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I align myself with the comments of the Honourable Horn, and I support them. And I want to urge the department to give very careful thought to including that proposal as set out. Whether or not they refer to state capture is neither here nor there. We have tried our best to accommodate this bill while we are not happy with it. We are doing so in what we hope will be the best interests of the National Prosecuting Authority and, of course, South Africa. But if the department is only prepared to make cosmetic changes to try and placate us, well, that will influence, and this isn't a threat, it's just how it is, that will influence how we are forced to view this bill. We have made suggestions in all sincerity, and I would expect them to be considered with the same requisite sincerity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, just really responding to Honourable Breitenbach. As we've said, the problem with many of the amendments, well, there's sort of two main problems. As the NDPP had said on the issue of elevating the position to a DNDPP, it has other implications that need to be considered, and it's not something that can be decided in a day or a week or things like that. So there are provisions that do require further consideration. The lawmaking process is not something that can be rushed into. That is why we wanted to limit the bill to those provisions that were largely non-contentious. Our concern with the preamble proposal, and so just to tell you where we're coming from, is that we don't want it to be used by people. The investigating directorate is not going to just be investigating matters from the State Capture Commission. And we don't want any provisions in the preamble to be used by people who are investigated for other cases that were not in the before the State Capture Commission, to say that no, this investigating directorate can't investigate them because the issue that they're being investigated for is something that didn't form part of the State Capture Commission. So that's where we're coming from. We don't want to. We would envisage that there would be there would be litigation. People investigated, suspected criminals often have, particularly the bigger ones, have lots of money, so they litigate a lot. So that's the concern on that one. But really, the other provisions are not also things that the Parliament would have to re-advertise. Just maybe to make a point on Honourable Breitenbach's first point on the salary of the NDPP. Yes, she did take a cut. I'm not sure how much from her International Criminal Court position. But as far as I understand, the NDPP is paid less than the head of the Financial Intelligence Centre and I speak under correction, and the head of the SIU. So that's a thing which offhand does not seem to be correct and would also need to be reviewed. But I'm not sure what Honourable Breitenbach is saying. The DA have never supported the bill. She's always been very rude about the bill, which, as I said, is simply achieving two objectives, and I think it does that adequately. The issue is what's not in the bill, and that we've said is something that is still very much on the table. It's not an issue of kicking for touch. It's just that these issues require more deliberation, more consideration. So I'm not sure if she's saying, well, if we include an amendment to the preamble or make a preamble to the to this bill, that the DA will then support it. Are you saying that, Honourable Breitenbach? Can we just get clear on that? Thanks.
Thank you. Any further inputs? Any further inputs from members?
I'm happy to answer the Deputy Minister.
Can you please do?
I thought I'd made myself quite clear, Chair. We don't like this bill. We've never liked it. I still don't like it. It is not a good piece of legislation. We've always said we won't support it. But we didn't spend many hours under a very heavy program preparing submissions in order to then throw it all out of the door. So it's not for me to say whether we will support it or not. As everybody knows, I will take it to our caucus and we will get a direction from our caucus. But if we can argue that the bill has been improved somewhat, that would be very helpful. If we can't argue that it's been improved somewhat, well, that will not be helpful. And I thought I made that very clear from the outset. We would like to support the bill. We would like to help the National Prosecuting Authority. We would like to improve the criminal justice system. But we can't do that with our hands tied behind our back. So unless the department is willing to consider some of our suggestions, then I will not be able to argue that the bill was improved significantly or at all.
Are you done, Honourable Breitenbach?
I am.
Thank you. Honourable Maseko Chele, and then the Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. And let me also, Chair, appreciate the work done by the DA and also supported by ACDP. This is one matter, Chair, that is very serious.
You don't have it.
And it really needs a decision, because there are really issues that they have raised in their document, and which the department feels that they still need more time to deliberate on them, or to also give an opportunity, even maybe to outside to comments, public comments on this matter. I was listening to the presentation of the department where they are saying they were elaborating and trying to cover also the submissions of Honourable Breitenbach and the team. And now the department chair, as was mandated on amending this bill, the DMM is emphasizing the issue of saying, let's concentrate on the two issues that were the source of why we needed to amend this bill. So, Chair, my view on this matter is that I know that we will not be able to give answers and also make sure that the bill covers all the views that were presented in this committee.
Sorry, Honorable Maseko Chele. I think my connection is bad. Can you just repeat the last paragraphs that you said?
You mean, Chair, the paragraph where I was just explaining that the presentation of Honorable Breitenbach on behalf of the team.
Yes.
And also the mandate of that has been given by the department for on those two issues, the making. Yes, I think, Chair, I was about to make a comment that we are really noting the very important issues that the presentation is touching on, Chair, and also noting the department is trying to give some explanation on their presentation also as to how they covered those issues that were raised by the DA. So my issue here is that there are issues, yes, that I think they will need more inputs, particularly on that one of the age, the removal and all that. So, Chair, I think my view is that because it's like we're going to reach a deadlock on this matter. I think that in consideration with all that has been presented, let's just, for now, because I'm not sure we can't also, we understand the view of the DA of saying we are taking everything to the next term committee to deliberate on that, and we are not even sure how many people of us that are coming, but I know that there will be ANC members coming because we are winning the elections, Chair. We are going to win and we will be having members in that committee. I think let's for now, I'll agree with the view of saying, because we are going to delay this matter and this matter has to be taken care of. There are issues that we need to look into, Chair, particularly those investigators themselves in the ID. There are serious issues of security in terms of security vetting of all the NPA officials. The report that we have just received now in the the secretariat that they have submitted to us, it's very serious. So I was going to propose and support the view that let's allow this two matters to be addressed by this bill, and then also put whatever issues that we think that they are need to be put coming from the DA, like as the Ms. Pillay was explaining, that he was trying to elaborate as to covering also those issues that the DA is really wanting them to be considered. But I know it won't be everything, Chair, according to the presentations that we received this morning. So, but my view is that, in short, Chair, in conclusion, let's allow those issues of security and stick with this that the department has given us, and then we plan or we put into our next plan all these issues. They're very important that Honorable Breitenbach has just submitted, Chair. There's no way that we can throw them outside. But because they are saying they need more time, the department says need more time. Where we are, we cannot just say, Chair, we have deadlocked. We need to move forward. In short, I'm saying, Chair, also asking and requesting the DA also to really find it in themselves to allow the bill to continue as proposed here. Thank you.
Honorable Mkhwebane. Honorable Mkhwebane.
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. To Mr. Jeffrey, I read the comments and we discussed the last time. You indicated why the bill is amended. My concern is that for us to just legislate for in bits and pieces, and I think the critical issue is yes, removing the proclamation, or that when anything has to be done by the investigative directorate, there should be a proclamation. That is the part which can be dealt with. But I think as the issue stands now, I don't see any need for supporting the amendment of or this bill. Rather, let there be a complete overhaul of the NPA and the proper security of tenure of the office and the protection from political interference, because as it stands currently, there's a lot of political interference. So I think that's our position, Chairperson, and I hear Honorable Jelle is just addressing what the DA has said. But from our side as EFF, yes, I will still discuss with our caucus, but as it stands, this bill, I think that's what is very important as well, because you cannot just legislate for inefficiencies. Sometimes you'll have to improve the inefficiencies, operate as the with the current arrangement until such time that there is an overhaul of the whole NPA legislative framework. So that's what I would say, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Swart.
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I think the issues raised in the Dear ACDP submission are weighty. They are very important to improve the bill. And we obviously also consider our position, given the fact that it seems that they won't be accommodated. But at the very least, I would urge that in our report, we mention these issues, because there seems broad agreement from the department and the ANC that they need to be attended to, but that these items can be mentioned in the report, which then goes to the House and is accepted by the House. And then, although it doesn't have a binding impact on the next Parliament, it does give guidance to the next Parliament. I'm not even sure what the legal status of that is, but it does emphasize the urgency of these matters, the weightiness of these matters when a broad review is done, and at least this Parliament will then have indicated that it needs to be attended to. Maybe that's something we can consider. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Chair. Maybe just starting by responding to Ms. Mkhwebane, and also more broadly, the NPA in particular want this bill because it will improve in an immediate, almost immediate capacity their ability to prosecute corruption matters, which they are already prosecuting. And we've seen with some of the cases problems relating to the capacity that they currently have on both these two issues of a permanent or a statutory directorate and the ability to employ their own investigators rather than rely on them being seconded. So those provisions are needed urgently. And that is why we limited the bill to those provisions. The original intention or hope, I know from the NPA side, was that the bill would be passed by Parliament before we rise. That is obviously not going to happen now. We are too late for it to be considered by the National Council of Provinces, but at least to get it passed by the NA before the end of this term, and we've got 3 weeks left for the committee to finish the bill and to get it on the order, accommodated on the order paper. A week was just over a week was given to the parties to make further submissions. As I said, I note that the submissions are not on any of the other amendments that the department was proposing from the public submissions, but were on the original bill as introduced in early September. So it's a pity they couldn't have come earlier. Now, on the DA, so people, I'm sure people who are being investigated or prosecuted would much rather not have this bill and would rather wait. But I think that for the good of the country, the sooner we can better capacitate the investigating directorate, the better. On the DA ACDP proposals, as I said, I have support or believe that they need consideration. The problem is that issues dealing with the appointment and tenure of the NDPP, the DNDPPs, and whether the NPA should be a separate department, are issues that require, they're not things that can be dealt with overnight suddenly. You've got to consider all the implications. The second aspect is those are new provisions to the bill. Those provisions, I believe, would require the bill to be re-advertised for comment on those provisions. The committee would have to go back to the House to ask for permission, and that will delay the bill substantially. So on the proposals on the investigating directorate, they basically proposed a process for the appointment of the head of the directorate and for it to be a non-renewable term of less than 10 years and the 70 age. You can't really do that if you haven't addressed the other ones. So that's the problem with that. That also may be a new provision. So definitely we agree, and the committee should, I believe in its report, put down that these issues need to be addressed. Making it a DNDPP, I've explained the reasons why that's a problem, and that has also specifically come from the NDPP. We can make 6B clearer, so that's something that you are getting. So that leaves the outstanding issue of the preamble. And Chair, we would support, and look, one, it's not the department or me, it's the committee that is going to be deciding on these things. We're just expressing views. The concern is, I mean, the DA provision leads to protect the investigating directorate against the possibility of being abolished for political reasons. As I said, there's a difference in terms of what happened with the Scorpions, and I dispute the issue that it was for political reasons. As I raised, there were problems that the Khampepe Commission was set up to look at on the issue of having people in there reporting to different bodies, which is not the case with the investigating directorate. But yes, we don't want the bill to just easily be repealed. So we would support that provision. The issue, though, is, I think, the wording. We are concerned that we don't want such wording to in any way imply that the investigating directorate is limited to investigating matters that were before the commission, because it has a broader mandate on corruption than that. So, Chair, I don't know, from a time point of view, as I said, we want, we urge that that the bill be passed by the National Assembly before the end of the month. I mean, sorry, before the National Assembly rises. We can look at with the DA, we can look at a wording that accommodates to the preamble, that accommodates our concern about not wanting to it to be used by people who want to limit it to only state capture matters. But then, Chair, I don't want the consideration of that to prevent the bill from being finalised by the National Assembly this term. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I see no further hands. Honorable Breitenbach.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we will be happy to work with the department on the wording of the preamble. That's no problem, and we can try and do it as expeditiously as possible. I would just point out to the Deputy Minister that I'm not taking an armchair approach to this matter. And I'm not referring to the disbandment of the DSO in a vacuum. I was actually there. We all know what happened. And you can dress it up however you like. But we all know what happened. And if he wants to be honest, he'll admit that. But we're happy to work with him on the wording of the preamble. And for the Deputy Minister to suggest that we don't, do lawmaking is not a process that should be rushed. Well, this process is being rushed in a somewhat undignified manner. But nevertheless, we will do our best to accommodate.
Thank you. There seems to be some form of a consensus that will both Honorable Breitenbach and Honorable Swart would work with the department to improve specifically the preamble and I think 6B. And I think Honorable Swart is moving us forward to say that all outstanding matters that we think that they are very weighty, there are no substantive disagreements, but there are procedural issues that have been raised, which are serious, that we identify all of those issues. They are put in the report, which will be adopted by the National Assembly. But DM, it would be important that, like we did with the RICA bill, the RICA bill is specific that the minister must present a bill, an overhauled bill by January 2025. It's very specific, and that is the resolution of the House now. So was there any application of mind to that effect?
Chair, sorry, I just missed that. Was it, just repeat the question, please, sorry.
I'm saying that with respect to RICA, the resolution that was adopted by the House was that the minister will present an overhauled bill, the RICA bill, by the end of January 2025. So with regard to this one, was there any application of mind in terms of the timelines? Because I am wary of just giving department a blanket check.
Chair, no, that is fine. I would need to consult the minister on that. So if we can come back to you on a timeline that you can then put into your report. Chair, I just wanted to ask on 6B, there were different options. Is it possible for the committee to look at those options now? And then we come back on possible amendments to, on a preamble to the amendment bill, which we could do by early next week.
Okay.
But I think it would help us if members are able to engage. And Ms. Pillay can put them on the screen. just the wording of the proposed amendment to 6B.
But I had indicated when DDG was presenting that we will have to come back to the two options today.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
Yes. And secondly, with regard to the timelines, we just don't want a time frame being given. We would want a supporting project plan to say how is that timeline going to be achieved. Because people can give anything, any commitment under the sun. But if we must be able to see that there is a real application of mind to the timeline, and this is how it is going to be achieved. So when we come back next week, we would like to get that.
Chair noted. We will do that.
Thank you very much. So next week, Tuesday, Committee Secretary, we would be dealing with the NPA on the TRC matters and the corruption matters, and then we will have to ask for permission to continue during sitting, and then the department will come and present the bill, the reworked bill. That would, in fact, it means that we will continue deliberating on the NPA bill on Tuesday during a sitting. Honorable Maseko Chele.
Thank you very much, Chair. I wanted to find out if maybe on that day, can we also be given an opportunity to comment on the ID vetting status report, Chair, if possible.
Okay. Who must present that, Honorable Jelle?
I can't say, Chair, because it is the document that has been sent to us. So I don't know who's going to present. Is it the NPA themselves to tell us? In fact, to talk to that document because it's their document, Chair.
Deputy Minister.
Chair, I think that if that was the department's document, then obviously the department will comment on that.
Thank you. So on Tuesday, we are proceeding with the bill. Between now and Tuesday, the Deputy Minister, Honorable Breitenbach, Honorable Swart, and any other person who's got any other member who has further inputs to make to make contact with the Deputy Minister so that on Tuesday we proceed to process the bill. Let's come back to that issue of 6B.
Sorry, Ms. Pillay just sent me a message saying that the vetting document is from the NPA, so I think they are on the platform, but we can talk about it outside, but we'll have to together look at who's then reporting on it.
Okay. That's fine. Can you present the two options?
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask Mr. Advocate Sabela Mecha to flight the document and do that portion of the presentation.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. I don't have the hosting rights. I'm trying to do so on the laptop, but I still says post disabled participant screen sharing. I'm not sure if DDG is able to share for us.
You've got the rights now, Mr. Seven. Am I audible, Chair?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. I'm trying to do so on the laptop, but it still tells me that I can't. I don't have hosting rights.
Can we have a 5 minutes break until let's meet at past. Let's meet at 11:30.
Chair, can I
Honorable
request with your permission, Chair, that the Secretariat resolve the issue of Honorable Mkhwebane. I think it's not fair. She's still indicating that she doesn't have the document that I'm talking about. Please, can that matter be attended to urgently? Thank you, Chair.
The vetting document.
Yes, the ID vetting status report. I'm saying in all, Chair, let them attend to the issue of Mama Mkhwebane.
Sia, can you send the documents? Honorable Breitenbach.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, just to save time, we have considered both option 1 and option 2, and we're comfortable with option 2. So, if that will expedite matters.
Okay. No, let's have it flighted. We will note your stand, your position as the DA. Let's have it flighted so that other people can also comment. Can we meet at past?
It's fine.
Mr. Sebelemet, you've got 2 names on the platform. I've both made them co-hosts.
Yes,
Which one is the laptop?
Yeah, I can see that I've got on the laptop. I'm going to try and share.
Oh, I didn't know you had 2 names. I was just I gave permission the one you were speaking on.
Mr. Rahman, are you able to see on the screen?
Yeah, it's visible. I think just leave it on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Can we start? Let's go to 6B. PDJ?
Thank you, Chairperson. I think Mr. Sibela Mecha had tried to share the document.
Yes, we can see the document.
He will take us through the
yes,
options.
Honorable Chair, TRT, who's to present the A list.
So we are interested in that option A and option B. Members, Honorable Maseko Chele.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I would support.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Oh, okay. Let them present first, Chair.
Yes, if we look at the number 2, which says on page 4 in 937.
There seems to be a problem with the connection of the of Mr. Sibela Mecha. DDJ, maybe you should take over, but I think members have read the relevant clause. Honorable Maseko Chele.
Okay, sorry, Chair, I was struggling to come in. We are on clause 6, Chair. Is that the one that we are talking about? Yes, I think I would also support a B, Chair. The second one. Yes.
B.
Okay.
Okay. Any counter view? None. Department, the committee view is option B.
Chairperson, sorry, couldn't raise my hand.
Honorable Kwebane.
Thanks, Chairperson. Our standpoint is that since we don't support the bill, we are not supporting any option from the 2.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed with option B. That brings us to the end of the meeting. The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Goodbye.
Can everyone exit the meeting, please?